fact, the people of Limuru are saying, had we known that this gang was coming, because there were outsiders, none came from that area. The people of Limuru are crying that they did not have information. They say they would have dealt with those characters.
We need to take this
so we want the
forward.
state to take over security, secure all meetings, stop using criminal gangs, and arrest those characters, because from the social media, from the videos, these characters are clearly defined and they are known, and people are even putting names to them because they know them. None has been arrested. Instead, they want to harass the senator for Kiabu, Karungo Thangwa. Karungo Thangwa was a victim. I came with him. We came in the same court trap. So that they just continued attacking us. And in the process, officers of DCI in the notorious Subaru cars that are unmarked without number plates, abducted, in clear view of everybody, Honorable Peter Mwathi and the MCA for Bibilioni. Peter Mwathi was taken round in circles for 8 hours before he was dumped on Bypass Road. The MCA for Bibilioni, who had spoken very strongly, was taken round and abandoned in Kenale Forest, where he has been picked and is now in hospital in a coma. So clearly, the police were part of this exercise. And I want to caution the state. I've been around for a while. I was in the Moi government. I was in the Kibaki government. I was in the Uhuru government. I was in Ruto government. I'm here and today. The use of criminal gangs to manage politics is a very dangerous thing. These criminals, after you use them as government, they don't go back home. They just continue committing crimes. From the pictures that are coming from Limuru, people are now calling us because they identify them. These fellows belong to a criminal gang that caused atrocities in the Mount Kenya region and Nairobi in the 90s and 2004, 5, 6. And what has happened now, once the state gives cover to these criminals to engage in crime, purporting to manage politics for the state, they'll go back to their crimes. And they have already started going to matatu stages to collect protection fee, going to dowry payment, demanding a 10%, going to hardwares, demanding money. Once a government uses criminal gangs to cause mayhem like they did in Limuru, beating innocent people in a funeral. And that young man called Erastus is a hustler. The parents are poor people. They came there and caused mayhem. Today, none of them has been arrested. So they get very embodied. And what happens to the public? If they can attack the second deputy president of the Republic of Kenya in full glare of the media during daylight, with machetes, with weapons, and nothing is done to them. So far, none has been arrested, despite the fact that these are people who are known even with the criminal records. Then they set upon citizens and start extorting money. And the citizens will panic because they will ask, if they can attack the second deputy president of the Republic of Kenya with police supervision, who am I? I want to say, number two, from where I sit, we have discussed with many people, and we are clear in our mind. Some peace caravans had been organized within the Mount Kenya region with musicians to go around to try to entice the people to give favor to the president and his deputy, who are not doing very well in the region for now. And when people asked, why are you sending peace caravans? There is peace in the Mount Kenya region. Send these peace caravans to Baringo, send them to West Pokot, send them to Baragoi. There is an attempt to create chaos in the region through this disruption of meetings. Because you see what will happen, Karanja. I was supposed to go to Nakuru for a funeral on Saturday. And I was supposed to go for a church service in Molo PCA. When my supporters in Nakuru learned of what happened, they started organizing themselves to protect me, and to deal with whoever may want to come and attack me and create chaos. And I had to stop because I cannot allow that situation, because that is what the planners of this violence wanted. The people of the Mount Kenya to start fighting each other. So they had organized groups in Molo, and my supporters in Molo, who are in thousands, started organizing themselves so that if anybody tries to come near where I am, they will be able to deal with them. And as a leader, as a very responsible leader who cherishes peace, I had to make a decision to call off Nakuru, to call off Molo, to avoid a clash between my supporters, who are in thousands, and the few criminals who have been paid. So I can see from where I sit, some people have sat down and said, this mountain, because it's becoming problematic, let us set up these characters against each other. Let us get this criminal gang that is feared in the area, unleash it, give it state protection, let it cause mayhem, let the people protect themselves and protect others, and then the mountain is chaotic, and then they can enjoy. I want to appeal to our people, wherever they are. Even leaders have told them, because this criminal gang, after the Rimuru attack, they have started reaching out to leaders. Please, we can offer you protection. That is what they wanted. So that we have a situation where, for you to go to a meeting now, the state has absconded responsibility of its role to protect citizens, and now you are leaving leaders to look for criminal gangs to protect themselves. Like if I want to go somewhere now myself, I say, because what happened to Rimuru can happen, let me also look for other gangsters to protect me. And then you set people against each other. That is a situation that should never happen, and I want to caution the government to be very careful. When those criminals were brought in the 90s, they developed into something that was very problematic. Rooting them out was a very painful and costly affair. Whoever has sat down and decided that you want to engage these criminal gangs to manage politics in the region, you are courting disaster, and you are starting something that you cannot stop.
I don't mean to cut you short, but you served in government for 2 years,
yes.
Honorable Gachagua.
Yes.
And this, as you're saying, is something that the state has done. Is it something that the state has started doing?
No, that thing happened.
That thing, under your tenure.
Under our tenure, it has never happened. We are very clear that we cannot allow criminal gangs to take over this country. You cannot allow criminal gangs to go to disrupt meetings and attack leaders and do nothing about it, because you are creating a situation of lawlessness.
But it was
these gangs were there. They were introduced in the 90s during the clamor for multipartyism to deal with those who are clamoring for a multi-party state. And they developed into a very big problem going forward. And dealing with it was a very costly affair. From what I can see, and what I saw in the Muru, and what had been organized in Nakuru and in Molo, some people in government have sat down and decided that they want to use criminal gangs to manage politics.
Right.
Disrupt meetings, scare leaders, like now they really destroyed vehicles belonging to members of parliament so that leaders are scared of going to meetings. Again, is a way of stifling dissent, because I think leaders who move around with me are very vocal about things that are not right in this country. And I think this is a way of trying to scare leaders. But I can tell you, that is not a situation that can go for long, because members of public will not allow it. And members of public will organize themselves, and they all say no. In fact, the people of Limuru are saying, had we known that this gang was coming, because there were outsiders, none came from that area. The people of Limuru are crying that they did not have information. They say they would have dealt with those characters.
We need to take this
so we want the
forward.
state to take over security, secure all meetings, stop using criminal gangs, and arrest those characters, because from the social media, from the videos, These characters are clearly defined and they are known, and people are even putting names to them because they know them. None has been arrested. Instead, they want to harass the senator for Kiambu, Karungo Thangwa. Karungo Thangwa was a victim. I came with him. We came in the same convoy. He was attacked. His vehicle was attacked. And after the incident, he went to DCI headquarters to report this incident. They refused to listen to him. At 10 p.m. at night, they wrote him a letter summoning him to go to Nyeri. The crime happened in Limuru, in Kiambu. They are asking him to go to Nyeri. Yet, the local member of parliament, Mr. Kirago, recorded a statement at DCI headquarters. Why are you calling the senator of Kiambu to go all the way to Nyeri, yet the crime happened in Limuru, in
Fair
Kiambu?
enough. Fair enough. You made your point, Your Excellency, and we need to take this conversation forward. But perhaps the last question about this political intolerance. This culture did not just start. Last year, when you were sitting squarely in office, and when the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition was running protests in the country, and instances in which you led the country because the president was out of the country at this particular time, we saw gangs, we saw people carrying sticks in the streets of Nairobi intending to deal with protesters who are democratically protesting. So is it that it sounds too harsh now that the heat is on you?
Let me correct you. That did not happen during the first protest of Azimio. That happened, the one for people carrying sticks happened during the Gen Z protests.
Even during the Azimio protests, we had people in the name of business, people protecting their places.
Let me say, during the Azimio protest, because at one time or another the president was out of the country, and I was quite clear in my mind with our security apparatus that we must protect the CBD. Yeah, but the protests outside the CBD took on because the right to protest is enshrined in the Constitution. But destruction of property in the CBD is what we stopped successfully, and it did not take place. Because, you know, this is a country of rule of law, and the work of a government is to protect life and property. You protect both lives and you also protect property. So what I do remember myself at that time, when the president was out of the country and I was left, is that we made sure that the property around CBD is protected. I have been very clear in this administration that we can never use criminal gangs to manage politics, to manage security, because it's not sustainable.
All right.
You create a monster that you cannot control, because after the event you have called those fellows to perform. What happens after that? They run amok, and since they feel that they have government protection, they operate with a lot of impunity. And that is a situation that one cannot control. Yes.
Your point is home, and we need to move on from this conversation. And Your Excellency, let's speak about a topic that many Kenyans right now want you to speak candidly about. And these are some of the policies and decisions taken by the Kenya Kwanza regime in the past 2 years. You are on record before you left office in an interview with Citizen TV and in an interview with vernacular Kalenjin station, stating that you knew nothing about Kenya's deal with Adani Group, be it JKIA and every other involved entity. You are on record after you were impeached in a church at AIPCA to say that you advised President William Ruto not to get into the Adani deal. One Gachagua who said, I was not aware, I was reading about this in the papers. The next Gachagua says, I advised the president.
I think you have listened to my address to the Kalenjin nation in piecemeal. If you listened to the whole speech, I said I know nothing about it in terms of I was not involved in the formulation of that policy. I was not involved in its implementation. That is why I meant I know nothing about it. Because if you are not, I was in government, I was deputy president, but I was not involved in the Adani deal to that extent. I went ahead to say, but Kenyans are opposed to it. Kenyans are speaking against it, and therefore I am against it. At that time, because I was in office, you know, there is what you call the principle of collective responsibility. I was still the deputy president, President William Ruto. So there are certain things then I could not say, yeah, because I was still his deputy. There is still that, you know, relationship. But later on, I have now the opportunity to say what I need to say. You know, I have many things I can say now, you know, but that time I was giving what I needed to give. And I said I was clearly, that matter did not come before the cabinet committee that I chair. It went straight to cabinet.
Were you in cabinet when it came to cabinet?
Yes, I was.
What discussions were there about Adani?
I cannot give discussions in cabinet because I'm still bound by the Official Secrets Act. I wouldn't diverge in detail as to what happened in cabinet because that would be irresponsible on my part. But what I can say is that I was opposed to it. And at my own time, privately, I was able to sit with the president and say this is not right. It's a rip-off to the people of Kenya. It is not tenable. And also, because I was elected, in our administration, I was the lone voice that would tell the president what anybody else cannot tell him. Because as an elected leader, you interact with the people. I also have serious political networks that are independent from the president that talk to me daily so that I get to know what is going on. And as principal assistant to the president and as his advisor, I took it upon myself, and it's a job I did that cost me heavily to always tell him the truth.
Excellency, allow me to interject because you have said that yes, you sat in cabinet and you cannot divulge issues discussed in cabinet. This is a matter in public. This is a matter already addressed by the head of state when he announced that cancellation at the National Assembly and the Senate when he made his State of the Nation address. You certainly owe it to the people of Kenya to tell them that this is what the country was getting into in Adani. Who was tasked to do what in cabinet, and how exactly was this deal reached? When was it signed? Those are the questions that Kenyans who are watching today want to understand.
I've told you clearly that nobody involved me. Had it come to the cabinet committee that I chair, I would have had all the details because that is a very exhaustive forum that I used to chair. I will be able to get to know from the beginning to the end. But cabinet is basically formality. And certain things, president will decide they come direct to cabinet without coming to the cabinet committee.
So are you saying, because you gave us a track record of how many cabinet subcommittees you chaired while in office. Yeah. This was at a time when some quarters were saying you did not perform as deputy president. Are you saying that in the many committees you hosted or you chaired of the cabinet, this did not come out?
Adani did not come.
Did the Social Health Authority come out?
Yes, it did.
In the subcommittees?
Yes, it did.
What was your position on it?
My position then, as it is today, is one, it was hurried. And there was no sufficient reason to move hastily from NHIF to the new program. And from my own reasoning, when I even looked at the mathematics surrounding that program, is that it would have cost us between 700 to 800 million to upgrade the system that was running the NHIF to make it compliant. Yet we are moving to a new program that is costing 104 billion shillings. And in my view, my very honest view, that's the crux of the matter. That is a rush. That is a focus, the 104 billion. And when you listen, Karanja, me, I'm a people's person. And probably many people thought that I'm a rebel within government. I was not a rebel. I was a deputy president of a popularly elected government that is answerable to the people. And in my view, we in government are the employees of the people. And the people are your employers. And their opinion counts. And you cannot dismiss what they think and what they feel. And that is why even members of parliament were accusing me of intimidating them when I told them to listen to the ground during the Finance Bill 2024. It's because myself, I do listen to the ground, and I take time to listen to what people are saying. If you listen now to patients, they are going through hell. One, in NHIF, you would pay 500 shillings for the whole family. Maybe say you have your wife, and maybe say 2 children like myself. 4 of us will pay 500 shillings for the ordinary people. Now, in this new program, is each individual. So you find people having a problem with that. Number two, you find that the private hospitals have not embraced this program. The program was rushed before all the stakeholders were brought on board. So you find that you have been deducted money in your pay slip. Then when you go to a hospital of your choice, you cannot be treated. And that is the frustration that the people of Kenya are going through. And I am a very strong believer that your employer is ultimate. And the feeling of your employer is so central in whatever decision that you make.
In this case, the employer here are the people of Kenya.
The people of Kenya.
Your Excellency.
And if you find the people are up in arms, and everybody is complaining, the stakeholders are complaining, Kenyans are complaining, you simply cannot ignore them and decide that you must do what you have decided because it's a government program. Because that government program is meant to benefit some people. And if the beneficiaries of that program are uncomfortable with its implementation, with its component, with the way it is being rolled out, you have a responsibility as a leader who is elected all the time to take into consideration the views of the people.
This responsibility you had when you chaired the cabinet subcommittees in which the shift from NHIF to SHA came. And for Kenyans who do not understand the workings of government,